Good evening. This is great. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. About 4 months ago, when I was working through some of Fiona's papers at home, I started a pile. Oh, that's a poem. That's another poem. Here's a short story. And that pile grew and grew, but I did not at that point think we would do this. So it's all just grown and grown over the time, and it's fabulous to be here. There's obviously been a lot of preparation gone into this. Thank you to everybody who has contributed in any way. So many poems, so many short stories, so much good stuff. I thought, first of all, I have to make this public somehow. I have to spread it around so that people can enjoy it and hear Fiona's words for themselves. And so the initial thought was just to wrap it all into some edited form and then stick it up online, and then people could enjoy it. And then I thought, well, maybe there's more we could do than that. How about a reading event? And then it became a book, and then it became 2 reading events, and then it became all of this. So thank you all for coming. There are 3 purposes for this evening, I think. One is to remember Fiona in her own words. Now, words are powerful, aren't they? You know, the things that people say, and also the things that people say, we sometimes can discern hidden meanings in them as time has gone on. So there are things in Fiona's poems that I look at and I think, oh, wow, that's pretty clever, that. I didn't realize that you meant that. So it's great to hear Fiona speaking in her own words. Fiona was quite a witty person, and I can see some people smiling and nodding. Some of you have been privileged to be on the receiving end of that sometimes. Fiona was building a garden gate at one point and went into town to, I don't know, Jewson's or the Woodyard or something like that to buy bits of wood to make this garden gate. And the man in the yard that sold her the wood said, "What's your man going to do with this?" And she looked at him and said, "Admire it." On one occasion, I was trying to lose a bit of weight, and I was looking at myself in the bedroom mirror, and I said to Fiona, "You know, I'm not too bad if I just pull my stomach in." She said, "Well, on you go then." I started a software business and thought I was an entrepreneurial businessman. Fiona insisted on calling me business boy, which, you know, brought you down to size. But she was also not afraid of a joke at her own expense as well when something came out a bit wrong. She was in town for a choir recital and really enjoyed it, and bumped into one of the singers in the ladies at halftime and said, "Oh, Ishbel, that's so good. I'm enjoying that so much. I was sitting that far back. It sounded great." No, that's not quite what I meant. So we're here to remember Fiona and enjoy some more of her words. And thank you to everybody who's going to read later on in the course of the evening. Second purpose is to raise some cash. So we are supported by Breast Cancer Now. Breast cancer was what took Fiona, and they have been terrifically supportive. I've got various materials that they've sent. I got a handwritten card this morning from my contact there, quite lengthy handwritten card thanking me, thanking us, thanking you for your participation. So we want to raise some cash, both from your attendance and from the book. And so we'll be selling the book at halftime and at the end. And the third purpose, what's the third purpose? The third purpose is just to have some fun. Fiona was a party girl, a party animal, could we say. In Spanish, they say fiestera, person much given to fiestas. And so she loved a party. She loved to transform any occasion into a party. She didn't really like to be the center of attention too much, but I think she'll forgive us for coming together and having a a party. This is an excuse for a party. So thank you to the sisters in particular who've decorated the room tonight with Fiona's patchwork and cushions and all sorts of stuff that she's done, and who've prepared some stuff for halftime. So we'll try and enjoy it. As far as I'm concerned, this is like an ocean cruise. 99% of the work is done when you cast off. So now that I'm stood up here, I can relax. So we're going to just press on into the programme without further delay. So we have a bunch of people who have agreed to read and share some of Fiona's thoughts and ideas in her poetry. And Cameron's going to start. I realised that this was getting a bit more serious when one of Fiona's poems featured in Songs of Praise from St Magnus Cathedral. Cameron will tell us a bit more about that and then follow up with a second poem, not so serious, and explain the whole thing, I think. Thanks, Cameron.
Yes, I was surprised when I saw this one that it was 2008. It did not feel that long ago. But yeah, the Trang, Innkeeper's Tale, is a kind of imagining of the nativity story in Orkney. Trang means overworked or exhausted. Fiona worked hard all the time on work and play. I never can imagine her thinking of herself as exhausted, because she was that lively. But yeah, it was lovely reading over this again, and we'll try our best to do it in a way that would be fit for Fiona to listen to. So this is the Trang Innkeeper's Tale. And yeah, I am actually for the West Mainland, so I don't speak the way that Fiona spoke. So anybody that's substantially Westry will have to forgive me. They'll have to use the byre boy, for the hoose is bursting full. The census is that busy men with the bairns all off the school. We're all been up for crack of dawn and done work as we're able. We're stripped and dated all the rooms, but we're never touched the stable. I'd like to give thee more by, but tak thou what I hae. I can see thou're fairly puggled and the donkeys needin' stray. I see thee wife is lipnin', the bairns wheel on the way. So tak this sack and bid her doon, she'll do fine on the hay. Me byre's just a byre, me beasts are all just kai, but I ken this bairn is different, look, merry dancers in the sky. Which is a lovely way of doing the nativity, I think. The next scene is called A Letter for Jeemie, and it just unfolds the way it goes, so see what you think. Well, boy, I'm glad to hear they're hame for county show. I thought I'd write and tell thee about the bally snow. For mercy's sake, we're in the stuff for nigh on 16 weeks. I'm never done shoveling it and airing off me breeks. I say this, boy, for they get most horrid wheat when I'm on me dupe more than on me feet. Best ken said's know that we're no hin snow afore, but I'm fairly breekst with dight in it for the bally door. The postman's hin to tak the van and put by his blessed bike, while the snow plough fired the washed ahead up for nent the dike. It likely wouldn't be so bad if we had the usual blast o' severe gale force 9 for the likes of the northwest. It'll no be long for tiver till the lambs and calves are out. Plenty of flowers and grow and gash and tourists too, no doubt. They aye come for a lock to see the sights o' yesteryear. They ate our cheese and try our fudge and even taste our beer. It keeps a lot of folk in work, and I like fine a yarn. When looking for Highland Park, they dilder by me barn. Maybe they think I'm glaiked and dunnard too forby. I might head up me breeks with baler twine, but I hae a twinkle in me eye. While most folk like to pleep and girn, never known for days, about the council and the health board or just the price of clays, I like fine to hae a laugh. Me life is never dull. And the last time that I saw thee, thou left me farting full. This year by, I must not eat the likes of that again. Me puggy's just recovered, and I will mind own the pain. Lobsters and partings are horrid fine, with butter and bare breed, but washing it down with whiskey, I must be off me heed. I'll ken better this time thou comes, and I'll no be ill for weeks, for our eating, drinking our much, and filling out me breeks. So I'll look forward to seeing thee, the show'll no be long. By then I'll have won the poetry comp, and written a winning song. We're keeping busy and yarning to folk, the time youngs quickly by, and if I manage all I've said, then watch for grice that fly.
Thank you, Cameron. Well, not only is this an excuse for a party, but this occasion has been an excuse for my boys to come up from South, which is fab. And Andrew is going to come and read something, and then Donald. Thanks, boy.
Hello. For those of you who don't already know me, or simply remember me having a little less hair here and a little more here, I'm Andrew, Fiona's eldest son. So when I introduce myself in Edinburgh, which is where I live now, it's always a great point of conversation to be able to say that you come from Orkney. Of course, the immediate reaction of most people these days is why I don't sound like it. Having recently done the maths, I'm sad to say that in the not too distant future, I will have lived away from Orkney longer than I have lived here. At which point I believe I have to return my license to use Orkney dialect in public performance. I'm going to be reading the poem A Plea for Geordie, which is the story of one man's quest to share even a small piece of his wife's successes at the county show. The notable thing about this poem is that it itself was entered into a competition, which it then won. So let's see how Geordie gets on. A Plea for Geordie. Please gie Geordie a prize at the show, whether he earns head or no. He had his heart set on a peaty rosette for his cherry tomatoes sun glow. He's never been much of a star, no diplomas nor posh fancy car, but he's worked all his life to keep up with a wife and to compete in the show just like her. It's hard to compete with her work. She'll knit onything, simmet or sark. All her life she's teens prizes for booties, all sizes, and in baking she wins the top mark. For all the plants he's tried for the show, the growth was horrendously slow. His 6 stunted dahlias were 6 peaty failures, so his last hope, his reed tomato. All week he's been sat in his tunnel. His compost is mulched to the gunnel. He's watered and fed it, bedtime stories he's read it, while the tomato right dripped through a funnel. Winning just one prize his intention, and to hear his name get a wee mention. Years he's clapped for his wife, knew he wants a life, and a status o' grander dimension. And this year is his very first go. As a novice his career has been slow. So judge if you care, and there's a prize gan spare, please gie Geordie a prize at the show.
Hello there, I'm Donald, son number 2, and I should say, first of all, at the bat, that this isn't my usual attire. If any of you that were at the funeral a few years ago may remember the story that I was sharing, that I felt was a really nice story that kind of summed up some of what Mum was about, and that was a long time ago, when I was maybe about 6 or 7 or so, we'd been speaking in the car, me and the whole family, about why at funerals everyone always wore black, when funerals should be a celebration of someone's life and not so much a mourning of their death. So I thought I'd chance my luck and ask maybe a bit of a risky question, saying, well, if they're supposed to be something that's celebrating life, and people are wearing black all the time, we thought it'd be nice to wear something more colourful. Mum, could I wear a Hawaiian shirt to your funeral? And maybe expecting to be reprimanded for my cheek, Mum said that she'd quite like that. Now, my propriety didn't allow me to wear that for the actual day, but I thought this might be a slightly more fitting occasion. So the poem that I'm going to read is a poem all about the sea. Now, for those of you that knew Mum would know that she loved the sea, whether it be taking a dip in the sea on a beach trip, which seemed like whatever the weather, or sailing in regattas. She absolutely loved the sea, and would often say that it was great that there weren't more trees in Orkney, because trees just spoil the view of the sea. But yeah, she was a big fan of it. So this poem is called Boreas Domus, Mare, Amicus, which, for those of you that don't know, is the Orkney motto, Latin for the north is our home, the sea is our friend. So this poem slightly turns that on its head and asks the question, well, is the sea always our friend? So if anyone who's been in a boat at any point around Orkney can sometimes understand that, sometimes deserves a question mark there. So here we go. The north is our home, but is the sea our friend? It did no seem that way this streen. Wouldn't a friend would hammer down the door, heave salt upon the windows, dad shaz off the tatties, flid the new girths, and tack back the tangles we'd gathered all winter. But this morning, gleaming and sheening, lapping quietly under the banks, flood tide clearing away the Trang, 6 bonny skiffs setting out to sail, gaeing us curths for our supper. A friend indeed.
In some ways, Fiona might not have been absolutely archetypal Orcadian in her character. She was quite outgoing and had a fabulous sense of fun and wit. But she also came from a long line of remarkable women. And I'm delighted that Fiona's mum, Nan, has been able to join us this evening. And Fiona wrote a couple of poems specifically for Nan to read at family occasions. And we're going to have one of those now and then another one in the second half. Nan was a stalwart of many, many things, but in particular, would it be right to say the Family History Society was one of your main interests and involvements? So Fiona wrote the history of the History Society, every family history. And Stephen here on the sound desk and technical department is going to play a video that was recorded earlier in the studio of Nan reading that poem. Let's hope it works.
I have been involved with the Orkney Family History Society since the beginning, and Fiona wrote this poem for me to read at the 10th anniversary party. Every family history is one man at the start. It's usually Jock Thompson, then others play their part. The Family History Society has been the same for 1996, when Gavin Brendel headed north to teach all dogs new tricks. He called a public meeting and everyone was bid. Over 70 folk appeared. You never saw the like of it. Folk came for every parish. They came in 2s and 3s, and under many oxters were rolled up family trees. I must add among us was a child that was not taking notes, with a computer up at his knee to keep track of all his thoughts. David is a genius at making laptops come to life, and that applies to pensioners too, including this old wife. Gavin said his first objective was to form a steering committee. At the time, I can mind thinking the volunteers no witty. George Gray was the first name called, although he nae sound. But next weekend we were all aboard for the meeting in Finstone. There must be a genetic link that makes folk volunteer. Some folk, it seems, cannot say no, and really it's quite queer. The evening passed most pleasantly as business was debated, and after rather cups of tea, we found that we were all related. The first week in July that year was bonny, calm and fair. We headed out for Finstone and all parked in the square. A night among the gravestones was what we'd had in mind. 3 dozen folk recorded parish names of every kind. Then when the darkness started to fall, we did the hill of Hiddle. Me'd out and meet us cups of tea, but tell me no the middle. We had every kind of fancy and a duff meat in a plate. I tried to wash the dishes, but the water had run out. We had a few excursions, like the trip days long ago, a chance to visit islands and see what they had to show. No, everyone was special and different from the rest. It depends upon your origins, what you knew like best. You ken that I liked Westry, and that all day the sun had shone. Although the castle had no roof, it was not called upon. But Shappensea was buxom wheat. The shores never did by, but at least their castle had a roof, so all the folk made dry. To Rousey then we took a bus. The ferry was at 10. Our secretary missed the trip. The time she didn't ken. Some folk might lose an hour if they were rushing to get on, but she never lost her minutes and was relied upon. We also went to Stronsey, and to Papa Stronsey too. We had a pity walk around to find out what monks do. Some folk remained on Stronsey to wander at their ease, but alas, they missed a nimmy treat. They did not taste the cheese. In Ede, when we spent a day up the tourist trail, where many loved ancestors, to some the Holy Grail. Some found things to look at made out of fancy wood, but others looked with longing at Ina's famous food. We get to Hoy to see the sights and had a stop at Linus. June Young had an open door and fed us Ratwick's finest. For every trip we go on, there's a member with a link, and then we stand our Colton kin and trying at the sink. It does not seem that long ago. It does not seem 10 years. For the society sprung into life with all its hopes and fears, with all the petty incidents that someone remembers. It's just a family history, the history of our members.